Hello and welcome to this India Today special. Amidst the noise of daily news, three issues continue to challenge the Narendra Modi government at the moment. They include COVID-19, the state of the economy, and the rising anger, it appears, among a section of farmers. Who better to answer on those issues than the Union Minister, who's a member of the government's COVID task force, Hardeep Singh Puri. Let's start with COVID-19. Since you are on the task force on COVID-19, on the 28th of March, Prime Minister Modi said that the Mahabharat war was won in 18 days. Our aim is to win the COVID battle in 21 days. More than 6 months later, would you concede we are still no closer to winning the battle?
The two battles are not entirely similar. I mean, you invoke something in history, you invoke something in mythology, but you have to deal with a real life situation on the ground. Insofar as the virus is concerned, I would submit to you that we've dealt with viruses in the past. During my days when I was ambassador to the UN in Geneva, New York, we dealt with H1N1, swine flu, we dealt with Ebola, we dealt with SARS. And when the Corona-19 broke out, the information available in the public domain to experts, to intelligence agencies was very limited. In fact, SARS had a mortality rate of 17%. But I think none of these viruses, in terms of the contagion effect, had anything to do with Corona-19, which actually is recalling a situation which we had after the First World War, the Spanish flu. Okay, when people said that they were going to deal with it, now I think we joined battle early. We took effective steps. The lockdown was complete and severe, but then you come to a situation where you have to make choices between life and livelihood. We are now opening the economy, etc. And let me say, no matter when the history of this period is written, how India dealt with the virus and how the other world, we will be one of the success stories.
No, it's interesting you're saying that we'll be one of the success stories, because critics say that this was an unplanned lockdown. It was severe, but it was unplanned. And as a result, 6 months later, we haven't been able to save lives. And livelihoods have been destroyed. This is what the critics say, that at the end of the day, even today, we are adding 85,000 new cases per day.
Thank you very much for getting figures in. You have a mortality rate at the worst time in the Indian handling of the pandemic was 3% or lower. Today it is 1%, number one. I submit to you, as many people can die from normal influenza and many more people die from road accidents. You see, if you take statistics out of context, this is what will happen. In terms of the number of new cases, the recovery rate today is over 82%. Now, what has happened is two things. Because the lockdown was not haphazard or unplanned, it was severe. It provided us an opportunity to do two things. One, we were able to produce the infrastructure, get the medicines, get the equipment. We did not manufacture PPE masks. We did not manufacture ventilators on that scale. Today, our pharmaceutical industry, our domestic industry dealing with the pandemic have suddenly grown, and we are exporting. We flew in 1,500 tons on Lifeline Udan, on Vande Bharat flights from outside. In the initial phase, we distributed 1,000 tons on Lifeline Udan. We exported 30 tons. If we didn't have the lockdown, Rajdeep, my submission to you is we would not have been able to do it. Today, we are able to deal with these numbers. We are able to, our health infrastructure. Look, ideally, I would like a perfect structure that, there are...
No, I concede, Mr. Minister, that there were no easy choices. I don't think there were easy choices to make in March. It was just that, the manner in which Mahabharat was invoked seemed to suggest that A, this will be over in 18 or 21 days. That was clearly not the case. B, now you are going through this entire process of unlock. We are now in unlock 5.0. Now, again, I recognize the attempt to calibrate this opening up, but is there a clarity in the road ahead?
Absolutely.
Do we really know where we will be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the line?
I think I have no doubt let me share with you information that I directly deal with, things I have to deal with. To begin with, you need to remember that the battle has to be fought not in Delhi. It has to be fought at the state level, at the district level, at the sub-district level, in our rural areas, etc. So the views of the state government in terms of calibrated opening up are crucial. Now, we can provide guidelines from the center in terms of unlocking 1, unlocking 2, etc. We are proceeding very systematically. Let me give you the example of civil aviation. You could say it's not important. It is important because it's both a critical driver of growth and it also reflects the economic opening up. Rajdeep, we opened up on 25th May. But let me recall a conversation I had with one of the airline operators. He called me and he said, Hardeep, would it be safe for me to presume that we will have no revenue till September? This was a conversation in April. And recall that we had closed on 23rd March or thereabouts. I said, no, I think by end September, you will actually be in a very comfortable position. He said, the signs don't look like that. He said, what is your prediction? My prediction was 15th May, we would open domestic civil aviation in a slow and calibrated manner, and that we would take it forward. We didn't open on 15th, we opened on 25th. We opened with just 30,000 passengers on the first few days. Rajdeep, yesterday's figures are 1,57,000. With Mumbai giving me more flights, 300, they're opening now going to be at a level of 300 flights. I think by the end of October, we will be at 200,000 plus. And around Diwali, which is 15th November, and the end of the year, we will be at pre-COVID levels of 300,000 passengers a day. If the virus remains, I wouldn't say declining trend, if it remains constant. Now the trend is declining. Yes. Many countries have declared success. The rest will also declare success. And we have a situation of people will be less inclined. I can tell you on our side, we are slowly easing restrictions.
So first quarter is what you're looking at of 2021 to restore international air travel in some form, all going well.
All going well, which is we have international travel now regulated, not Vande Bharat, but as in...
You mean private international travel, people will be able to freely move. Metro services, for example, you started it last month. You've slowly expanded it across the country, around 30% in some parts, more in others. I'm just trying to understand, has that been successful? Because we are also seeing in cities like Delhi a rise in coronavirus cases at the same time.
Well, I can tell you, I'm cautious by nature. So when I was speaking to the head of DMRC, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, and here I was sitting in this room and saying, what is a good scenario from our point of view? He said a good scenario is we open up 1 or 2 lines, then we open up the whole system, we open up in a calibrated way with SOPs in place, and we hope that the passenger traffic doesn't suddenly go up. Because when it goes up, then the SOPs which you have designed are going to be tested. Well, I can tell you, I'm at the stage of beginning to worry a little that our figure was 10 lakhs a day. We started with 15,000. Today, as I told Mangu Singh ji, I said, what happens when you reach 10 lakhs? He said, well, we are going along and said, today we've crossed that. We've at 12 lakhs.
So you believe the fear factor in a sense is gone?
Fear factor is gone, but that introduces new problems.
No, it does, because we've got a city like Mumbai where the commuter trains are the lifeline of the city, and unless the commuter trains start for the average passengers, Mumbai will never get back on its feet.
You will forgive me for saying something. You are a proud son of Maharashtra. I have a very deep connection with Maharashtra. I'm married to a Maharashtrian. But I think Maharashtra has been a little slow in opening up. I was looking at the GST figures. Now, look, GST figures are a very good indication of where the formal economy is. In the month of August, GST figures were 92% of August 2019. The latest figures I see today for GST are 4% higher in September than 2019. But Maharashtra is very low. Why? Maharashtra has been slow in opening up air traffic. Maharashtra has been slow in opening up urban transport. I think it is more inhibited. No, look, it's
what you're calling slow, they'll say is cautious. Well, then we are being cautious. If we open up, for example, commuter train traffic in Mumbai, we don't know how, whether the cases will spike exponentially. Do you recommend that you open up much like what Delhi's done?
Not only what Delhi has done, what Bengaluru has done, what the other cities are doing. Look, there is always, if we were operating in a situation where the choice has been between being totally risk averse, then you the lifeline thing is, the livelihood thing is affected. On the other hand, you have to take conscious choices. What did we do in Delhi? We opened up metro over a 10-12 day period. First day only one line, then slowly, and we kept testing. And I had told my instructions from my boss.
Yes.
In this case, the Home Minister. Instructions in the sense that was the prevailing philosophy. Were, please, after 3-4 days, if you think it's getting out of control, don't hesitate in slowing down the pace of opening.
Very interesting, because what you're therefore saying is maybe Delhi has offered a model for opening up urban transport, which Mumbai could easily follow.
They can follow it now also.
Open up the trains, do it gradually, but start doing it is what you're saying.
Yeah, practice social distancing at the railway station, inside. Today there was a report in the morning, I got up a little worried. 100% peak capacity in Delhi Metro. I read it carefully. I called my my colleagues. They said, no, what they mean by 100%? 100% with the middle seat vacant, 100% in terms of number of passengers allowed. But it's a good sign. Now, they have to do a little bit of naming and shaming. They had to get a few violators. Some trains didn't stop. But with those safeguards, you can open up.
The reason I'm asking you this is because the critical issue, as you said, is to balance lives and livelihoods and the issue of the economy. Now, if Mumbai doesn't get back on its feet...
That's a commercial hub.
It's the commercial hub. If that is sputtering, the economy is sputtering. We've had a 23% contraction in the first 3 months, the first quarter of 2021. You're not worried about April AMJ figures?
No. This 23% comes from people who don't understand the statistics. Let me tell you. The 23% figure, Rajdeep, refers to April, May, June, the first quarter. We closed the economy on 23rd March. There was no economic activity in April. No activity till about the end of May. So the first quarter only gives 1 month figure. Therefore, all the people who started preparing gloomy doomsday scenarios on the first quarter, my friends in the political opposition, I encourage them. Because there's nothing more delightful for somebody in political life to allow somebody to make a total fool of himself by saying this has gone wrong. Then you'll say, all right, wait till day after tomorrow.
No, but let's be clear. The economy has suffered a setback.
It had to. Because we had to close it.
Sure.
We had to close it.
So the challenge is, how do you open it up?
Now we've opened
lost 2.1 crore salaried employees, according to CMI, have lost their jobs since the lockdown. These are big figures. Service sector, some of which you look at construction, you look also at civil aviation, hospitality. The service sector has taken a huge hit.
Rajdeep, all this talk about is ignoring one thing. In the sectors I deal with, which is construction, it is already back to 63% of pre-COVID levels. That's a big figure. GST is an indicator I gave you, 4% year on year in September. But most important, once you open up, your worry really should be, if you're a practitioner or you are somebody who's dealing with it, if when you open up, there's no demand. That's not correct. Whenever we are opening up, there's a surge in demand. I'm not saying that when you open up more, there will be what you call revenge spending or something. I'm not going that direct. All I'm saying is there is demand. When we are opening up, people said nobody will travel. Now, I've got very interesting statistics. In India, people don't like traveling on Tuesdays. My Tuesday figures on air traffic always a little lower. There, on the first of every month, there is an increase. There's earning. So economic activity is reviving. The point I'm making, hotels, domestic hotels are opening up. Therefore, this 23% contraction is a 1 month figure for a quarter. And you see July is already sputtering. August, September figures are good.
No, the reason I can only go by what the economists tell me, what the rating agencies are saying, each of who say that 2021 is going to see a recession, a contraction, and there are those who say the government flattened the wrong curve. They flattened the curve of the economy instead of flattening the COVID curve. This is what the critics say.
I want to draw your attention to some of the doomsday scenarios on eminent channels like yourself. COVID se itne log mar jayenge, ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega. Let's be clear. You have a population base of India. You have a recovery rate of 82%, 83%. Your mortality rate is 1%, okay? Or even less when you go ahead. You are testing large numbers. I make the submission to you that Look, it's good for an economist to come and give his this thing.
No, it's not me. It's Nobel laureates like it's Nobel laureates like Abhijit Banerjee. It is former chief economic advisors like Dr. Kaushik Basu, each of whom are saying India has performed worse than other countries.
Well, Dr. Kaushik Basu, I could have a separate session with you, and I think I would be very happy to counter some of the things he's saying, but let's not get personal. Let's put that aside. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, okay? You had no choice but to close the economy, to give ourselves maneuvering space in order to get the health infrastructure in order. It were very difficult choices, but we had to do it. There were problems on interstate travel. There were problems in opening the supply lines. We did all that. Today, we have recovered a bulk of that economic activity. Migrant workers have come back. Look at the fracas that was made on migrant workers. Look at the fracas that were made. Okay.
No, I sense you're looking at the glasses half full instead of half empty. No, I'm saying you're entitled to because you're in government. Journalists will look at the glasses half empty. I'm pointing out to you what economists are saying. The fiscal stimulus they believe we've got wrong. Slogans like Atmanirbhar Bharat, according to them, this is not the time for them. This is a time for opening up.
Many of these guys are doing political sloganeering. I don't want to get into that. Let me tell you two things which are, I think, crucial. One, I had somebody who deals with airlines sending me a message last night, and he said, you know, they have given the third bailout to American Airlines. Somebody who sits outside who, let's say, I won't go more, you'll get a hint on who it is. And he said, third, look at what we have done. Isn't this a bit of a contrast? I said, not a bit of a contrast. It's a major contrast because we have fed 800 million people over an 8-month period. That is India. People who talk about fiscal stimulus don't seem to realize that the development challenge we have, including one very eminent economy, now you should give so many $1 billion here, so many $1 billion. We did. But whom are we giving it to? Look, it's a $2.89 trillion economy prior to COVID, but the per capita income is very low. So the people of the country who are vulnerable, you're dealing with that. Second issue, there is a healthy debate within the government on how to increase spending. And I think we are in it for the long haul. I can only endorse what the finance minister says, that this is not the end of it. This is the beginning of the story. And I think
you believe consumer spending will pick up?
Oh, 100%. I'm telling you where it is picking up already.
Okay.
In the run-up from now, in the festive season to middle November, not only will consumer spending, by spending is across goods and services, across the flag. But I think the things I'm telling you, real estate, urban transport, civil aviation, it's evident.
My final submission to you is on an issue which should concern you, the Farm Bill. Because you contested from Amritsar, and Amritsar has become one of the epicenters of the agitation against the government's farm bills. And the sense that we get from Punjab in particular is that the farmers are angry. They're restive, cutting across party lines. Your own ally, the Akalis, have left you. You're smiling, but that's the reality.
I don't want to take mention my allies only, but I'd be happy to answer a question. Rajdeep, these ordinances were promulgated in May this year. Okay. Please look at the Congress Party's manifesto, not only in the 2017 elections in Punjab, which I studied very carefully when I was contesting from Amritsar, the 2019 manifesto of the Congress Party for the general election. Two highly respected figures, personally whom I respect, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Please analyze his writings. Dr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, his writing. My own colleague in the Council of Ministers, Harsimrat Kaur Badal, please look at a statement she gave on 6th September.
So why have they all hit the streets?
All right. Can I finish? 6th September, she gives a statement saying that the opposition is weaving a litany of lies and these bills are great. When I was in the university, I read a book written by a guy called Karl Popper, The Open Society and Its Enemies. Many of these people agitating are not impoverished farmers. This is something very different. They are the enemies of agriculture. They should draw inspiration from what Kurian did in Amul. They should draw inspiration from the fact that these measures will help liberate Indian agriculture.
So no question of a rollback.
Rollback of what?
Rollback, because states like Punjab are now saying, in fact, that we will probably bring in legislation to come out of what the centre is planning. Create a centre versus state federal conflict.
Look, I would just say, hold judgment. as against 1st October, we started paddy procurement 3 or 4 days earlier. I've been looking at the procurement figures. The only point which I would call of some difference, of nuance, nothing more. At some stage, our ally asked us for an assurance that MSP would not be done away with. We said we'd be happy, that is my senior colleague, Tomarji, we would not only be happy to give you assisting. I saw her in a statement of 6th September, she must have spoken in Punjabi, asi kya chano, likh ke de deo, ke MSP. Yes. They gave them a letter that MSP will not be done away with. Then said, please say it in Parliament. He said it in Parliament. Now, I don't want to...
Are you saying that the Akalis are playing politics, competitive politics with the Congress in Punjab, and you're still hopeful that they will return to your fold?
I am not making anything, and believe me, I'd be very careful in my choice. In 1996, the highly respected patriarch, Sardar Prakash Singh Badalji, had a choice of either joining a Congress-sponsored Devagowda combination or a Vajpayee-ji-sponsored, Vajpayee-led BJP combined. He chose that. But the Akali Dal from 1996, which bore the imprint of Sardar Prakash Singh Badal, was a very different party from what it is today. And both in terms of the composition of the party, I'm choosing my words very carefully.
Do you want them to return to the fold?
Look, there is, in some...
If you believe that the farm legislation is pro-farmer, are you willing to go out there and persuade the Badals to return to the fold?
I'm going to say something in a personal capacity. There's a great relief in some sections of my party that they're no longer an ally. And I don't want to have a discussion on that because in some ways they're making it easier for us.
Let me therefore conclude.
And they want to be the B team of the Congress, be my guest.
Therefore, let me conclude by asking you, it's been a difficult 8 months. Are there things that you could have done differently, you believe, in hindsight? Do you believe the government has got everything right? Because as I said, critics are saying unplanned lockdown, wrong curve flattened. Do you believe that you've made mistakes?
Rajdeep ji, I can tell you, I always say the proof of the pudding lies in the eating, and everything has to be empirically verifiable. The success of the measures that the Prime Minister took during the lockdown will be reflected in the fact that the India post-COVID will not only be resilient but much stronger. And I give you 2 pointers to that. I was looking at manufacturing figures, okay? A lot of stuff which we were, unintelligently not producing ourselves. Some core sectors where we need to establish strength. Atmanirbharta is not inward-looking isolation. Atmanirbharta is stepping out in the world with a much firmer grip on your domestic. We are going to be much stronger after COVID.
On that positive thought, Hardeep Singh Puri, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.